Hey guys, Imaya here, the psycho-spiritual therapist, and today I'm going to be talking about something that we all go through in life, which is periods of growth, periods of expansion, and the way we usually deal with them. So periods of growth come with growth pains. Just like when a baby is, or toddler I guess, is teething, the growing comes with growth pains. But here's the thing. We tend to interpret periods of growth with something being wrong, with something being off. And this feeling is so excruciating and so frustrating, so agitating, so confusing, that we have a really, really, really hard time with being with this pain and therefore with staying with the process. And so what happened, like I explained in a previous video, is we projected. So in this case, it's not necessarily really pain, but it's discomfort, it's frustration, it's agitation, it's confusion, that kind of energy. We then project it to our outer reality and attempt to fix it there. When we do this, we only distract ourselves from what's really going on. We only make the process that much longer because we're actually interrupting the process. It's like digging up a flower before it blooms because we want it to bloom, because we just don't have the patience to sit it out. That's what's happening. But as you can see from a toddler growing teeth, all that is happening in this process, the only thing that's going on is they're becoming more of themselves. When we go through uncomfortable growth periods, all that is happening is we're becoming more of our true selves. We're becoming more aligned with our true essence, our true core vibration. So imagine, if you will, these horses that ride with the blinders on, right? This is what's going on. This is what humans have done to our consciousness. In order for us to be human and to have a 3D experience, a physical experience, we needed to cap off. We needed to limit our awareness, our consciousness, which created a perception, a limited perception, that, so now only this that we see, we call this reality, so it's a distortion. What is happening in these uncomfortable periods is that our true self, because we're in a period right now, in a transformational period, the age of Aquarius, where slowly, we're all waking up, sooner rather than later, sooner or later. So your true self, your core vibration, is knocking on the door like, hello, there's something for you to see that you've never, ever seen before. This is the process that you're going through. It's about taking off the blinders. Although that's a bit more of a black and white description rather than what's truly going on. I mean, some people have the experience, you know, of course, of one day to the next total enlightenment and never going back. That's like taking off the blinders once and for all. You've seen reality, there's no going back. However, most of us are simply taking off the blinders bit by bit by bit, the waking up process, the spiritual path, the spiritual journey. It's you know, awakening or enlightenment or waking up to your true self or seeing reality for what it truly is. All that this is, all that this means, all that this is about is about taking off the blinders. You're not becoming anything more. It's simply about taking off the limitation to seeing what is true, to seeing what's real, to seeing what's already been there. But because of this limitation, reality has historically felt uncomfortable, unfair, unjust. And it has been, because we've all been walking around with these blinders. So the learning process that I'm describing here, the growing process, is the learning process, is the process of taking off the blinders. That is all that is happening. However, we're usually so uncomfortable with the pain. We don't have the patience for this process. So instead, we are confusing cause and effect. We are reversing them. We are misinterpreting what is going on. In fact, what happens when we take these blinders off, this is when we start to have a true sense of cause and effect. Okay, so when cause and effect are reversed, we say, okay, the issue is there and it's making me feel a certain way. The truth is, I'm feeling a certain way and I'm projecting it onto my reality, or in a delayed kind of way, creating my experience of reality. When the blinders come off, what you see is that there was no problem to begin with. That the problem was created through your lack of awareness, of the lack of seeing the whole picture. When you're sitting on a mountaintop looking down into the valley, you have a very different perspective. You see like, oh, well, of course, like that's going on, but it doesn't look like that from the perspective that you have when you're down in the valley. Everything seems like a massive obstacle. When you're on top of the mountain, you can see the solutions. And when you see the solution, there is no problem, right? I understand that if you've not had this experience, actually you have, by the way, but not every experience of this, it's like an epiphany. It's an insight. It's a revelation. And there might be other words for that in like other traditions, like samadhi, or I'm not even sure. It doesn't even matter. But sometimes these breakthroughs are so big that they alter your perception of reality forever. Maybe not full enlightenment, but enough in a way to never go back to the previous misconception, which is that my reality causes me my problems. But I understand that if you've not had this conscious awareness of this happening in such a big way, that this might sound like blasphemy. It might sound like ludicrous. It might sound like, are you kidding me? You're saying that every time I have a problem, it's self-created? In a way, yes. In a way. But here's the thing. That is the point of being here. The point of having this human experience is to go through this process of reversing cause and effect, is losing the awareness of how we create our own reality and who and what we truly are and how this whole thing functions. So you've never, ever, 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 ever done anything wrong. You're never, ever, 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 ever to blame or to shame or to feel guilty, ever. That's rule number one. Wait, I think my first rule was to have fun. Okay, well, they can share number one. The thing is, once you've had this experience, you understand the mechanism better. But I want to explain the mechanism for those who still find this sounds a bit far-fetched. Imagine the scenario of falling in love. It is like that, but different, but kind of backwards, but ending up in a similar place. Here's what happens. When we fall in love, we project our sense, our experience of happiness and of love onto another person. Again, we mistake cause and effect. We say, okay, this person is what is causing me happiness. This person is what's causing me to feel good. And therefore, your whole sense of well-being now rests in their hands, which is a very, very dangerous game that we play. Your complete sense of wellness, well-being, happiness, and all of that now rests in the hand of someone who's a flight risk, which is a very scary experience. It's a very scary experience to think that your sense of happiness and well-being can just walk out the door. And this is why we tend to have so many relationship issues. But I'll leave that for another video. The point is here, this is the exact same thing in a way that's happening once we've had such a big perceptual shift that we recognize that this is not true. When you recognize for the first time ever that when you fall in love, it's not about the other person, it's you increasing your own vibration to match your true core vibration, to match reality, which is one of unconditional love. So I'm going to explain it in reverse for the purpose of this video. Once you've had the experience of having an issue, let's take the example of heartbreak. You're heartbroken. You perceive another person as the cause of that. They took away your happiness. They destroyed your experience of love. They broke your heart. You're finding it really hard to be happy and at peace right now because that person is not in your life in the way you want them to. Once that situation has grinded you through that process enough for you to change your perception, to see what was ever only truly going on, which was they're not your source of happiness. Something just happened, and that's okay. People come, people go, doesn't really matter. It's like, oh, too bad, you would have wanted to be with them, but that's all that there is to it. And like I mentioned in a previous video, these two realities seem like two different people, right? Having a completely different relationship to a relationship ending. Completely shattered and heartbroken. Love is still here, I'm fine. Too bad, I really like you and I love you and I want to be with you, but hey, if this is reality, okay, cool. I had that shift 1 second to the next. Because I sat with the pain enough. I sat with the process enough. I resisted the pain, obviously. I wasn't happy. I didn't have the awareness about this process that I do now. But one thing that I didn't do was try and run away from the pain. I didn't try and distract myself. I didn't try and comfort myself. I didn't try and fix it. I didn't try and walk away. I didn't go traveling. I didn't try and gain more success in my career, which was what I tend to do before. Didn't find another boyfriend or someone to play with also, which is something I historically did. And so literally one day to the next I woke up with the biggest problem of my life projected onto a person and also like some things around it. Basically just like onto my life. My whole life is just a complete waste of time, a mess. I don't see any way out. I don't see how I'll ever be happy again. One moment later, to see that whole issue was completely not even real to begin with. Seeing reality for the first time and falling in love with reality. This is what falling in love is. It's falling, if you will, into reality, which is unconditional love. So what happens in these moments? We've been wearing blinders. We've been wearing a straitjacket onto our entire being, our entire awareness, our entire frequency has been massively constricted, and we've been grown accustomed to it. We call this normal, but at the same time we're always slightly uncomfortable. We're always slightly aware of like, something is not quite right. That straitjacket comes off. And you feel for the first time, at least to that extent, the way you're really supposed to feel. And you instantly get, I am supposed to feel this way no matter the circumstances. Cause and effect are finally put into perspective. I feel the way I do, and that echoes out into reality. I feel the way that I do, and that causes me to see what I do. I feel the way that I do, and that causes me to react, or rather in this case then respond to what I see in the way that I do. This is what all our growth periods are about. All our periods of discomfort, frustration, confusion, agitation, restlessness, anxiety. We feel the straitjacket, and we have an opportunity to take it off. But in order for this process, and I mean like from the way, like there's nothing wrong with doing this process wrong. Usually you'll still get wherever you want to go. All I'm saying is it can be so much easier, so much faster, so much smoother. And this is all to do with the ability to say like, okay, nothing is wrong with the reality. If I feel off, then this is an opportunity for me to feel to get in direct contact with the cause, which is always internal. Which is not to say that we're not ever to change anything in the physical reality. The thing is, it's from what place? Do you really want to make changes in your outer reality out of fear, agitation, restlessness? These changes will always, ever only make a very superficial cosmetic change. It's not an actual change. You think you've changed something and it works for a little bit. Just like when you fall in love with the next guy and in 2 weeks and you're like, oh yay, everything is fixed, I'm so happy to. And then 2 weeks later, I don't know, reality kicks in, he breaks your heart, whatever, and you're like depressed again. That's that kind of change. Changing the outer reality. If you change your perception first, if you take off the blinders first, and that process might take a while, you have to learn how to be comfortable in the discomfort. If you can master that, you've kind of mastered life. That's not to say stay in dangerous situations. Obviously, if you're in physical danger, if you're addicted to meth, if you're in a physically abusive situation, of course, don't stay. Then change the outer reality first. But in all other cases, if you're not in physical danger, it's about the inside first. Changes made on the outer reality, it's not actual change. It's such a minute change. When you're looking at it like this, you're like, oh yeah, I'm changing things. But when you're here, you're like, no, you're doing the same thing over and over and over. You're just changing jobs, you're just changing partners, you're just changing countries. Which, by the way, those things aren't bad things, but it's all about the way you feel in the end, right? That's all that we're doing ever. We want to be in our natural state. And I'm saying all of your issues are your opportunities to discover your true state through this process of learning. Every problem that you encounter in your life is saying, knock, knock, there's something for you to look at, because you have a definition or belief system that is capping off your awareness. It's altering, it's distorting your perception of reality, of unconditional love. And if you can change that, then you change that 9 out of 10 times, a change in your outer reality is no longer necessary. And if an outer change is necessary, it will happen so organic. Usually life will do it for you, or you do it, but from a place of clarity, from a place of trust. You're not trying to change something to make you feel better, which in the long run, if you're really truly looking, if you're really truly honest with yourself, it hasn't been working for you. It hasn't been working for you. So, how do we deal with uncomfortable periods of growth that come with growth pains? Well, this awareness alone, understanding that this is what's going on, should be helpful. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy. It's not easy at all to say, okay, I am willing to stay with this pain instead of trying to blame it, project it onto the outside world somehow, some way, and try and fix that. I'm going to stay with the process. And there's no magic key, by the way, there's no magic lock. What is happening in these periods is that you want to learn who and what you truly are. We can all use these nice words. Oh, you are unconditional love. You are God. You are the creator. You're one with the creator. You are pure love and bliss and excitement. But has it ever really worked for you? For someone like me to tell you these words? No. Not really, if you're honest. But what does help is to know these things, how they work, so that you can stay with the uncomfortable processes that are set up for you, by you. It's not life punishing you. You're not doing anything wrong. You're doing this to yourself, on a higher level. For you to discover what you are, but in a visceral way, in an embodied way, in an experiential way. Not just like, oh yeah, I'm unconditional love. Okay, now what? Every single one of these periods are you learning the same lesson in a different way. And you're like, what? Why? Why do I have to keep learning it? Nah. It's because the more you learn it, the more you truly know it. And have you ever had several people describe the same thing to you in a different way? This is in one way what any spiritual teaching is. It's all the same information over and over and over and over and over and over again. But there is nothing wrong with that. There is no mistake in that. It's not stupid. It's not redundant. If it was redundant, then a lot of enlightened beings would just shut up. But a lot of them, they do keep talking. Why? It's because they understand that hearing it from different angles, and so when you go through this process, you're not just hearing it, you're actually learning it from different angles. So the same thing said in a different way can make total sense for this person, whereas for the other person it had to be learned it this way. So we keep setting up these experiments for ourselves, these experiences. Our higher self keeps presenting us with little puzzles for us to solve, so that we can learn every time in a new way from a different perspective. Like, whoa, I am unconditional love. Whoa, I am one with all of creation. Whoa, I do create my own reality. And so on and so forth. Whoa, I do always have a choice in how I react and how I feel. Whoa, that's amazing. And then 2 months later, you forget and you get the lesson in a different way. And that is not redundant and it's not stupid. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but this is because we want to be masters. We're in Earth School. We signed up for this for a reason. We really want to know ourselves and creation and the process of creation on such an intimate level. So this is another thing that really helps, is to realize that every time you are going through discomfort and frustration and growth pains and growth periods, to realize what a privilege it is, really. And that what you're getting out of this period is just, I know, we always kind of forget. but the reward is always so worth it. And if you're like, well, it's not because it's frustrating, that's because of the resistance. And that's because you keep projecting your problems into the outer world and therefore creating a life for yourself that seems rife with problems and challenges and pain and suffering and misery, and not living your fullest potential. But that's not what's really going on. That is a lack of awareness. That is a lack of learning what these processes are for. So that's why I made this video, to let you know what these periods are for, what these processes are for, so that you can get more out of them, so that you'll stop resisting them as much, so that you'll stop projecting your issues onto your life so much. And therefore your life already becomes a whole different thing. And then you'll go faster through these periods and with less upheaval, possibly. And you get the results faster. And the result is always learning about your true nature, but in a very individualized way. Like you always get some really, like the lesson overall is very general, but you'll get such a specific lesson out of it that's just amazing. And yeah, you can share that with other people. And they can only use it as inspiration. We cannot copy paste, but we can use it as inspiration for people to see what are just the general lessons. And if someone really resonates with what you've learned, they can simply say like, yeah, I agree, I like that. I'm going to take that on for myself. And others will say like, that's not something I want to learn. Then okay, leave it. So learn where cause and effect are. Cause is internal, effect is external. It's an echo. You cannot change the echo. You have to change the word, the cause first. If you cannot find the cause, you can never change the effects. If you think the cause is there and the effect is here, nothing is ever going to change. Not fundamentally. Not fundamentally, only cosmetically. Stay with the process, let it reveal to you what the lesson is. So really ask yourself often, like, and at the very first thing to do is just to be more accepting of growth pains and discomfort. I know this is very hard, trust me, I know it. And then the two phrases I think that I use for myself the most are, I am willing to see this differently. This is kind of like a prayer, just show me truth, show me reality. And again, don't expect the result today. Say to yourself, if it takes 10 years, it will still be worth it. And then it will happen faster. If you want your answer today, it's going to take longer. And the second is, this is a personal situation, experience, puzzle that I set up for myself. It's a tremendous learning opportunity that is going to give me more knowledge, more information to move forward in my life on my personal path that I've chosen for myself. It's helping me create mastery. It's giving me information that I need on my journey. It's vital. It's absolutely vital. So why would I want to avoid the situation to feel better temporarily? I'm willing to see differently. What is the information? And then the third one, not to speed up the process, but every day that you're in a discomfort, you can already start to simply project meaning onto a situation. Loosely. Like, well, at least I'm learning this, at least I'm learning this, at least the true lesson will reveal itself, but the lesson that you get from a situation is always anyway what you say it is. I'll do another whole video on that as well. Alright guys, it was a long one because I'm so passionate about this topic. Find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Find me on SoundCloud, where I'm going to upload these same kinds of talks, but more so when I'm just walking about and just having fun insights. And remember, if you want more, if you want to know how to apply all of this stuff to your life, go to imayasabine.com/subscribe. See you in the next video.